really his swing is fueled by the trail hand staying cupped like this and the trail arm going from bent to straight.
Yeah.
So it really allows him to drive the handle, control his lag, control his upper body.
Of course, we have to talk about Michael Block.
Of course.
The Block Party.
Yeah.
The Block Party is live in full effect in this episode.
He has a bit of a shorter backswing than Brooks, and he really does a good increase from the top with like increasing his lag.
Is close. Understand that the golf swing is 90% hands and arms. It used to be, like back in the 20s and 30s with Harry Vardon and Henry Cotton and all these guys, they were saying that it was 90% hands and arms. Where did that get lost? Like, why? Why did we lose that? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Cause and Effect podcast, where we introduce the cause and effect relationships that exist in golf in relation to the hand-to-handle-to-face relationships. Episode 36. We got a really exciting episode coming up. We're going to be talking a lot about last week with the PGA. PGA was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it said the ratings weren't that good, and I was surprised by that because I enjoyed it. I mean, there's so many good storylines, right? Like, obviously, you always have the PGA Live dynamic, and I mean, for Brooks to come out on top, kind of regain the throne, sit at the top of golf majors, and he's just awesome at majors. So we're going to be talking about his swing a little bit. How he kind of dominates his swing with his strong upper body, and how that stuff like that could actually help you. And of course, we have to talk about Michael Block.
Of course.
The Block Party.
Yeah.
The Block Party is live in full effect in this episode. We're going to be talking about his swing. I want to talk about one of the most impressive shots I watched all week was him on 18. He hit it like left short of the green, hit an incredible like flop shot off a tight lie, literally left his club in the ground, but you could see he was really just driving the heel and sticking it right in the ground, which is going to be a good theme and good kind of segue into thumping the ground and the importance of that.
Yes.
And we're talking about that with how we do that with our students. So, hope everybody's having a great week so far. PGA was just awesome though. I mean, I really felt bad for Hovland. Like, he put up a really good fight, but I mean, for him to have that kind of mishap that he had on 16 where he plugged it in the bunker lip, which was kind of unfortunate. But he fought good. And he'll win a major soon. Like, because his short game's getting really good.
I like the one post after the first day it showed him. He was like, last guy in the range.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
He's trying.
And we're going to talk about some things he's working on with his coach too, with his short game, with like thumping the ground. His coach has got him like focusing on just not like following through and literally just thumping the trailing edge of the club and just leaving it right in the ground.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's been helping him a lot.
Sure.
And that helped a lot, especially with this thick rough that we had at Oak Hill. But yeah, I mean, really, let's just jump right into it though. I think we should talk about Brooks. I mean, incredible week. He putted really, really well, and we'll get to that. I want to talk about like his trail index finger being down the club and how much stability I think that gives him if he uses it properly. Because we do see sometimes students use that improperly.
The problems.
So we'll talk about that with putting a little bit. But let's just get into his swing. I mean, he does a really good job with a couple key things, and what are they?
So, as a common theme, as everyone we've been seeing with all the winners, trail hand pinch, perfect. Lead hand is a little bit more neutral. Basically when he goes back, because the lead hand's a little bit more neutral, he is basically shutting the face a little bit when he goes back, bowing. Like, it's like a flat lead wrist to the top, and then he bows it a little bit in the downswing. And then from the top, though, really his swing is fueled by the trail hand staying cupped like this and the trail arm going from bent to straight.
Yeah.
So it really allows him to drive the handle, control his lag, control his upper body. So Ethan said, earlier that it's all about like, if you have like a strong upper body, the biggest thing is just concentrating your upper body pressures perfectly. And push-ups also are a great way if you can do them, or pull-ups possibly.
Absolutely.
Just to kind of build that strength, because you're trying to learn how to push against the handle away from your chest, same way as you do as a push-up.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Right. But when he
pressure,
comes through, it's like, the face is a little closed again at pre-impact, so he's really like punching the golf ball.
Yes.
And that really helps with face stability. And I'm like experienced this myself, is that I'm hitting like a fade a little bit more off the tee recently, only because if you stay stable, when you keep the trail heel on the ground, then it allows you to give stability to, again, like letting the trail arm go from bent straight, which helps keep the face like perfectly square. And if you align a little bit open, it's just very easy to hit a predictable fade. And if I want to draw, I just square up with my toe alignment, have the same grip, and just forward press the handle a little bit, pre-close my body, and then swing more out to right field because I'm a right-handed golfer.
Right.
And so it's like, but Brooks is really predominantly hitting like a little bit of a.
But I mean, you look at Brooks, and when he sets up to the ball, just think he does a great job of, like, he gets his trail palm, like it's literally facing like the sky, and then he plants it on that lead thumb knuckle. And he's really, I mean, that strong upper body is exerting a lot of pressure to that lead thumb knuckle and just pushing right there. And then that pins his trail arm, and then he just kind of stretches. And like, what's he do to start his swing?
Yeah, he just pushes and goes in with the handle slightly, which keeps the face slightly closed. And then from there, as he hinges up, he doesn't twist. And that's why as he transitions from the top, his lead wrist goes from being like flat to slightly bowed. Not very bowed though, because he's really pushing throughout his entire swing. The more you push in your swing, the more extension you're going to naturally maintain with your wrists.
Yeah, it's weird how Brooks is actually kind of like narrow at the top. Like his arms are not like completely
But in the transition,
away.
just like you see with a lot of these pros, they go from a little bit of bend to the lead arm to then perfectly locked by like the first quarter of their downswing because they're really driving the pressure. So they get to the full extension.
They get it to where it needs to be.
Correct.
But for the average golfer, they don't get that proper pre-impact position. So we always say, like, just don't try to find it in your swing. Just maintain it and like set it and just keep it.
Start half to half, lead arm parallel to the ground in the backswing to lead arm parallel to the ground in the follow through. Start with that. Try to get like the proper connection and then build up if you decide you need to. With adding a little bit of turn stuff, you know, like we see with the pros.
Got it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's all, it's upper body, it's trail arm, it's trail wrist.
Trail hand arm driven, man. I'm telling you.
It's awesome.
And the lead hand arm is the pivot point around, like to support it. But all it has to really do is push and twist back and hold the twist properly. It has a lot less of a job than the trail hand.
Right. So. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you set up to the ball, like set up with your grip and everything, I mean, you could literally take a club right here in Brooks's and you could stick it right in here. Like he is so under with that trail arm. And then I did a piece of content on this yesterday where if you feel that sensation, you just want to feel like that lead arm is staying like on top like this and that trail arm is just working like underneath that lead arm and then feel that full extension. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Michael Block because just an incredible story. I mean, for one, let's just start off with that. Like to have a PGA pro tied 15th at the PGA Championship. I mean, just an awesome guy too. Like he is just I mean, how can you not root for him? I mean, just an incredible story. One of the best stories ever, really, in the history of golf, in my opinion. But yeah, we're here to talk about a swing. So I really want to just talk about two things that he does really, really well. That help him just with his swing because he does have a pretty good swing. Yeah, he's got a pretty good grip. I mean, it's not perfect, but he's a teaching pro. Like
he's kind of weak to neutral, so lead hand, thumb, like more, you know, at the 12 o'clock straight up position of the club, like we talk about. And then with the trail hand, though, he has a really good pinch, of course, like we see with every pro, and it's a little stronger. So I would say it's pointing in between, like more so at his like trail ear.
It's really good though.
Right. Yeah. Well, then also though, when he goes back, he pushes good in the takeaway and he basically keeps the face in a sense kind of face down. So it's a little bit shut.
Similar to Koepka a little bit, right?
A little bit more drastic though.
Hands go in quite a bit, but his grip's
a little more
weaker,
drastic though.
So he has to kind of shut the face more, right? Yeah, I gotcha.
And then he has a bit of a shorter backswing than Brooks and he really does a good increase from the top with like increasing his lag. And so then from there, footwork wise, I mean, the trail heel comes off the ground a little bit before impact, but the face is still a little bit shut. So you kind of need a little bit more drive in a sense, like you see it with DJ when we talked about him last week. So it makes total sense, you know. And one thing that was kind of cool though is that when he finishes, if you look at his lead wrist, there's still a perfect cup in it. Every time it is finished.
Just like DJ.
And, well, every tour player. So, but the cool thing is what I'm getting at more so is that they're keeping the face shut and the lead wrist is not cupped in the backswing, but it ends up being cupped in the follow through, which is, again, we're trying to say with the strong grip, you can go cup the whole way.
Yes.
Right. But when you go a little bit like more towards neutral side or weak side, you still have to be cupped in the follow through to maintain proper face positioning, meaning that the face is properly open to the target. It's not closing too much, because if you're roll releasing and shutting the face and finish like that, it's never going to work.
Right, exactly.
You're not going to get the proper width, like meaning that your arms can't properly extend if you stop pushing. You have to push.
Yeah, always got to keep pushing against the handle.
Correct.
Right. One thing I think Block does really well too when he kind of starts the swing is that his lead shoulder tilts down at the ball a lot.
Yes, because of that inward push like this, keeping the trail hand on top, but he's like, they're pushing like this away, but they're keeping this on top, and then when they come down in the transition, then they're getting like the reroute, like the underneath
That's
increase.
what you mean when you say like good increase from the top. He's like basically getting that like reroute where the shaft goes from vertical to like horizontal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like here, and then basically right after his takeaway, almost, you can already see the transition happening because he has like a 3/4 backswing. Then you're good.
He has a great pre-impact
and that's
position.
something that, we can also take away from him is that, you see this with a lot of tour players that have, like Jason Kokrak, good example, where they call it float loading, where it's like handle back, club face kind of shut, and then big increase from the top. Gary Woodland does the same thing.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they're all getting to that proper pre-impact position.
Correct. And they're pushing.
Talk about.
And they're pushing.
Yeah, and pushing is the big thing too, especially when you look at that shot that he had on 18. And I'll pull up a graphic just so we can kind of look at this. But I mean, for him to have like the shot where he's kind of below the green, so the green's like up a little bit, and he's short-sided. He's got probably like 45, 50 yards. And he's on a trampled down tight lie. I mean, all the odds are against him, and he hits just like the best shot ever. That up and down was actually to secure his spot for the next year's PGA Championship, which was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Like if you give him a bucket of balls, like I think he would struggle to get maybe 30% of them up and down. But it was just really cool how he did the move perfect that we always talk about, where push down on the handle, hands are low, and then just like didn't have like a lot of twist in the takeaway.
But in the downswing coming through, I'm sure he adds it.
Just so much in the downswing, and then he just pins the club face to the ground and then leaves it there. Like his hands didn't move from like, he just pinned the face and then just left his hands right there.
That's so important though.
The shaft literally started like this, and when he hit the ball, it's actually like almost felt like it went lower. Like it was so perfect with his lie angle control, and
that's all it's about though with golf. Yeah, which is awesome though.
For him to hit that shot under those circumstances, I mean, shout out.
Very impressive.
Shout out Block. But I'm really excited to watch him. I mean, who knows, man? Like, we'll see what he can do. I mean, he has a really good move. His pre-impact position is perfection. So, yeah, his footwork, I'd probably tighten it up a little bit if I was his coach.
His trail knee just works out a little bit, like towards the target line too much. It needs to pin more inward towards his lead knee.
Yeah.
But it's still,
But hey, I mean, the big thing that he does really well is that he hits down and thumps the ground really well. So even though his knee moves in and the shaft tips under and gets really like shallow, he still gets that proper like thump. And I think that's a good segue into kind of some things that we're working on a lot with our students in our lessons is thumping the ground is the most important thing. And we kind of alluded to it last week in the episode talking about like what thumping is and things like that. But you've been having a lot of success, and I have too. I just talked to one of my students before I came here, and he said all he was thinking from the top was fast hands. So let's talk about that a little bit, because when we talk about thumping, it's just getting that lag to release, get that fishing rod to cast. Right? Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, so when we think about lag again, we lever the club head back of the handle like this, and then it's lagging behind the handle like this. What's that doing? Lagging the toe behind the heel. So when we get to pre-impact, no matter what face position, we want to try to pin the heel to the ground before the toe, okay? And the idea is that you have the leading edge and you have the trailing edge. So front edge, back edge. And so it, like we'll say, for instance, if I want to hit or thump the leading edge of the golf club, I'm going to have a little bit more forward shaft lean set up. I'm still going to open the face a little bit in the backswing. I have a strong grip. And then when I come through, I'm going to push and try to thump the trailing edge, but I'll still utilize the leading edge because of the setup.
Because you set the handle so far
because
forward,
I already set it forward.
You're already kind of like pre-activating the leading edge.
And if I twist back and then thump the trailing edge, contact is never a problem. You're never going to take too deep or heavy of a divot like with
Correct.
forward javelin.
Yes,
you're going to be able to hit the ball higher with more spin. It's awesome.
Like we talked about last week, though, if you don't twist, then you're just going to dig like crazy and just
Correct.
dig craters.
Or at least like if you go back kind of like more straight, maybe just a little bit of toe working back, you just have to make sure when you come through that when you're pushing that you're going underneath and keeping the heel leading the toe, because it has to happen when you strike the golf ball in order for the ball to roll up the grooves properly of the face.
And remember too, when we're talking about like what we're saying the face should be doing, we're strong grip advocates. So the two guys we just mentioned, Block and Brooks, they're a little bit more like weaker to neutral.
But so but trail hand's still like same.
Yeah,
almost.
their trail hand's doing exactly what we're saying, but the lead hand won't have as much twist as we're recommending with these little things that we're talking about. So just know that. It's a little disclaimer.
Sure. Yeah. Well, but I mean, the idea too, though, is just understand, like in the shortest shots in golf, you want to make sure the toe goes back of the heel. These guys all allow the toe to go back of the heel a little bit, even if it's minuscule.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're not keeping it perfectly square from heel to toe like this.
Hovland is.
Because, well, if you do it, okay, that's fine. But you have to go under a little bit when you start your downswing transition and push all the way through and stick your finish.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not going to have as much loft or spin technically as if you allow the toe to go back of the heel a little bit more.
Correct. Or you're going to have to work harder to achieve what twisting the face will give you.
Correct.
Basically, like Hovland has to work pretty hard from like pre-impact to impact with how he's taking the club back right now.
Correct.
Because he's really not changing that.
Right.
And if you look at like, I guess his coach was saying, like, look at some of these guys, like Brooks doesn't open the face a lot when he's chipping. Like he keeps the face like pretty square.
Correct. Which is,
so they're basically saying like, we don't have to change your face in the backswing, but you have to understand how to still thump the trailing edge.
That's right.
And what does he have to do? Just feel like, clockwise
just look at it this way.
It's
like if you're static, let's say this is Brooks. I'm not even going to put my grip on the club, but let's say just a little bit of shaft lean. If he goes back square like this, when he comes into impact, it has to be like this.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Even if it's more square like this coming in, you're risking the like outer part of the toe to like strike the ground first. So if you cut the club face like in half like this, so you have like the toe half, heel half, basically if the toe half hits first, you're in trouble.
Yeah, nothing
because
good
then
ever
the heel opens up and then you push the ball right, or again contact, you might even shank it, who knows. But you have to basically hit from the heel half, from the middle of the face down to the heel, and that has to be on every shot. And it just depends on if you're trying to hit or thump the leading edge or the trailing edge.
Correct.
And that's it. So when you think of lag, again, club heads, like toe is lagging up and back of the heel, and you're trying to pin the heel to the ground. So when we talk about thumping the ground, we're talking about the pressure applied against the heel at impact.
Which is why we like the trail arm going from bent to straight as the vehicle.
It's the most consistent way exactly to deliver the club in that format, which is what every tour player is doing.
Exactly. And that's just like a really easy way to think about it. Like if you're having a hard time understanding, like, how do I get the proper div in? How do I get the proper impact? Just thinking about like literally punching at the golf ball with your trail wrist staying cupped and your trail arm going from bent to straight.
Lead hand's pushing
as long as the lead hand is established like its pivot point for the trail hand to work around or work with, it's just such an easy way to just understand it. But if you're trying to worry like, oh, I got to rotate my body and that's what's going to pin the club face or get the divot, it's like, no, it's just not the best way to get the lag delivered. Like
when it comes to lag, hands and arms control, like I would say 95% of it. So when it comes to the body, there's body positioning that supports the lag. But you can see people, if you took a person and gave them perfect like lever, lag, and release with the hands and arms and gave them like a really weird setup position with their body, they'd probably still hit the golf ball pretty well.
Yeah.
But if you take someone that has no lever, lag, and release and give them the perfect setup, they're still going to struggle.
Right.
So that's, another thing that we want our viewers to understand is like, it's all about the claws and what they're doing with the lever, lagging, and releasing. And our new video, also, by the way, that we're going to be shooting in the next few weeks for Claw IQ with training, like our first training program for the viewers and everybody is coming out. So it's really exciting about that.
Yes, everything's structured. Everything is really just structured around like educating your claws. And then if you're getting graded on that, and we did like a test of like, hey, how are like your claws performing the move without the club? Like forget the club at first and just see what they're doing. Just claws, wrist to wrist,
and then molded grip.
And then from there, just see like how are they actually doing.
What they're actually, perfectly what they're doing.
Right. And
We're
then
gonna
you
walk
could
through,
actually
like, the
see
basic
like what the
moves.
effects of what the club would be doing.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, hey, if you're not like pushing down enough or you're not twisting enough, then you're not going to get the proper like dynamics of what the club's supposed to be doing. So yeah, we're super excited for that. But yeah, the big thing though is just understanding, like Jonathan's saying, just get that heel to lead the toe. Because
Mhm.
when you hit the ball, you actually want the heel to be leading the toe as you're striking the ball.
And when you think about the ball, like if I'm from a square standpoint, we have the ball here. And when you think about like the quadrants, you have like the inner quadrant and the outer quadrant of the golf ball. So basically, no matter, even if you have an open stance, like your toes are open, your body alignment's open, everything, like you're setting up technically for a fade, you still basically want to make sure that you're doing the exact same thing. Like you have to, like you're just opening, the face is basically pointing left of your target to start, and then you're trying to thump the heel of the club face, right? And more of the trailing edge for a fade just to ensure it doesn't go left. Whereas for draws, you typically do want to feel maybe a little bit more on the leading edge because it helps with the gear effect.
It helps that toe turn over.
Correct. But the thing is, though, to understand also for viewers is that when we talk about from heel to toe, the heel hits the ground first, but that happens in front of the golf ball when it's on the ground. Okay. So this part of the face meets that ground first. The ball is already on, like going up the grooves. Then from the middle of the club face to the toe, then that part of the face will eventually, like basically make perfect contact to the ground. Then the ball can properly roll up the grooves perfectly. So the idea though is that it's like heel to toe. And that's why, again, we talk about with the claws, trail arm goes bent straight, trail hand stays cupped. When you do that, it really allows you to support this, and that gives you the perfect divot.
Yes.
And that's what most golfers are also really struggling with, is actually taking even a divot, or if they are taking a divot, is it pointing in the right direction, or is it too deep or too shallow?
So that's you're 100% right. Especially people always think like the face has to be square when they're making contact.
No, it happens when the divot is basically, when you think of the start of the divot, it's supposed to be a rectangle, right? So the beginning of the rectangle is from heel to toe placement. So the heel hits first, then the toe squares. But that happens after the golf ball is hit.
Got it.
So when you even hit a driver, right, you play the ball more forward in your stance, you have a little bit of tilt. But basically that's giving you the exact same dynamic because of the differences you're making at your address with the driver.
Right. And a good thing I do this a lot with my students, where I'll just have them like understand like these pinches and these notches and how at the setup, that's why we recommend a strong grip, because the notches are already kind of on the side of the handle. Now when we're coming into the ball, I basically just say, try to keep those notches basically pointing like back as long as possible. And then as you go from bent to straight with that trail arm and trail wrist staying cupped, that those notches are still going to feel like they're staying like this.
Right.
If you're trying to get those to be like that at impact,
No.
you're in trouble.
Right.
That's what most people think. They're like, oh, I got to square the face. And then when they get those pinches, those notches like that, then most likely the common things we see are like the handle going backwards, club face closing. Nothing good happens when these notches right here go this way.
Right. Because
it's always here, stay on the side, and then just get the gear effect of when you get that proper like push.
So if you properly lag your claws and lag your club, basically lag, if you properly release it, will square the face for you.
Yes.
That's the benefit.
Bingo.
Okay?
That's the benefit of the strong grip.
That's why, again, we talk about, pinky pads, notches, where they're pointing, because it's relative. Like when you own a golf club, it's like you can take a molded grip. It's like same thing, get here. And then from here, it's like trail arm goes from bent to straight, trail wrist stays cupped. Both arms are locked here. This is basically when the divot is being struck, and then this will be like the rotation effect of the club. And then after the divot is taken, like there's the scraping, so their hands and arms are really not rotating
Still
at all
back
consciously through that point. But after the divot is taken, that's when you see the rotation effect. And that's what screws up everybody.
Yes.
Because they see the after effect, and
Correct.
they're thinking they have to try to do it before impact, and that is not what you do. So you get your claws, lag the club head back of the handle properly, push against the handle properly to get the release with the trail arm going from bent straight, trail wrist staying cupped. And then from there, if you get that heel going to the ground, you pin it properly and scrape and push, then all of a sudden the club and the claws are going to do, or we'll say this, the claws will do the work to get the club to do what it needs to do.
Correct.
Because that's the common saying, right? Let the club do the work. Well, you got to control the handle here in order for the club head to do what it is supposed to do.
Yeah, we're going to start a new saying that it's like, let the claws do the work.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like forget let the club do the work. Like let the claws do the work because the club's the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, claws and effect. And I really like for people to just understand because once we start getting into claw IQ, you're going to really start to understand how these notches really, like Jonathan was just saying, if the notches are positioned this way, then that correlates to the club face being up and back of the handle. Right. Wherever these notches are is determining where the face is relative to the handle, right? We got palm to handle, fingers to face.
Think about it is you got like your pinky pad here, that's like towards the butt end, and then basically it goes to your notch, so that's like lead hand.
And that's heel to toe.
Yeah, so it's like heel is pinky pad of lead hand, and then this is the toe with like the notch where it creates the pressure against the index pad.
Perfect. So if you're moving those properly, then the heel to toes move properly.
And then from here with trail hand, it's like trail palm is like the heel. It's like heel support. And then you have the proper notch right here, which gets that trail hand index pad also in proper placement. So it's basically like the bottom parts of your hands are controlling the handle, and then the outer parts or top parts are controlling the club face.
Got it. So that's what we're giving people when we're educating them on the claws and giving them basically the perfect connection to the club. End result of that is going to be perfect control of the club face.
Hand to handle to face relationship.
That's it. And then that's why we like sticking the finish too. We got a video coming on this. We shot it last week. But really I want to talk about how, like when we talk about sticking the finish and getting the proper post-impact position, that's allowing us to get this proper gear effect to happen from pre-impact to post-impact.
Right.
Can we talk about sticking the finish a little bit? And because we mention it in every lesson, and it's something that's nobody's ever heard before. People always think like, oh, you don't want to stop, like you don't want to stop anything, right? Like you want to just keep going and rotating, keep the handle moving. And here we are saying like, no, stick it and push on the handle. And like, let's talk about it. Just a little basic understanding.
Okay. So when we think about, we just talked about how to pin the face to the ground, heel to toe, right? So let's just say, like subconsciously from pre-impact or from the top of your swing, you're going to try to leave the club at post-impact. So once the scrape is done, divot's taken, the idea is the concentrated pressure after that is going to be driven in a certain way. So let's say if we're trying to hit a punch shot, we're going to keep like notches down, and we're going to, trail arm is going from bent straight, trail wrist staying cupped, but we're going to keep notches down, which will then create like a lower, more of a punch style kind of finish to help us flight the ball down. If I get the same push to the divot and then we get the scrape, then after, if I pull up with my notches and rehinge, I'm going to hit a higher ball flight. So it's like, when you think of sticking the finish, you're sticking the pressures like with the divot. You start the divot properly, you scrape properly, but then do you just keep pushing down and notches down, or do you go notches up while you keep pushing down? And those are the two ways to stick your finish. Because those are two different styles of finish that you need in golf. And you see it with every pro.
And sticking the finish again is just making sure that you're getting the proper parameters.
Like you got to get the divot right.
Yes.
And then is the club head staying low and more pointing down after like the scrape? Or are you pushing down on the handle and pulling up on the club head after the scrape?
And why would you recommend like one or the other? Like
because again, remember, notches down, keep the ball down.
Oh,
you're going to punch it.
Okay.
If you go notches up, you're going to hit the ball up. That's going to create more height, like the rehinge.
Got it.
And because the club head direction of the toe will have a little bit of an influence on the actual like trajectory of actually where the ball goes.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because
but it's more of an afterthought though. You're not thinking like pull up on the like handle if you're trying to rehinge before you hit the golf ball. Like you have to push down, and the club, everything kind of slows down through that point. Like the body slows down, the club, hands, claws, everything. And then once you make that contact, then what you do again with like your trigger fingers in your notches, like pointing down or pulling up, like that is going to control where the club head finishes. And we show sticking the finish. We have like the recoil back down, pointing down like this move. And then we have like the recoil where you let it like rehinge back up and then you pull it back down. And those are the two great drills to help you understand how to perfectly stick your finish.
And what's the benefits of this in terms of like maybe helping you in the backswing, helping your downswing? Like it's really just getting you into the proper pre-impact position because you know, okay, if I'm focusing on that like end zone, like we call it, then why would you be doing like a crazy thing over here at pre-impact, right? So it's almost like kind of tricking your brain to
True. Oh yeah, for
perform.
sure.
Because like you could not have the perfect backswing, but have the right intentions of what you're trying to do at post impact, and that would actually create the proper dynamics of the downswing.
If you
which
look,
is cool.
We'll do a test to see if you take somebody that's never really played, I will say even if they've never played golf, teach them how to take a perfect divot first, just walk them through like how it happens, and then get them to actually do it, and then like work the swing off of that, opposed to just getting them to swing and then trying to teach them how to do all these things.
Right.
Because if you get taught the first thing of like the end zone and how to take the proper divot, it makes a heck of a lot more sense because you understand the pressures against, like from the claws to the handle to the face, relationship with the hands and arms, the body, everything, to where then it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do now in the backswing? If I know I'm going to be doing this, what makes sense? Oh, I'm probably going to do this.
Yeah.
To get this, to get there.
So we can actually fix like 4 or 5 things in the swing by just giving them an understanding of where the end zone is.
It escalates the roadmap to perfection.
Yeah, that's actually going to be a really cool test that we're going to do, and we do it a lot with our students. But
we're doing it with our editor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna get Luke all squared away. But that's gonna be a really cool series. We're actually gonna take our editor and actually take him. He's like, he's edits our content, so he sees a little bit about the golf swing. But yeah, we're gonna really kind of get him all squared away. He's like kind of fresh clay that we get to mold.
Oh, he's never played golf or anything, so
yeah, so he's gonna be a good test subject. So yeah, Luke, if you're watching, get ready.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, it's really cool how so many people they don't really understand like how to get the proper divot, but also like what creates the proper divot in terms of the pressure being applied to the handle. How bent does the trail arm need to be? How cupped does the trail wrist need to be? How much on the side of the handle do your hands need to be?
It's like all those questions are answered by just basically getting the cup of both wrists and then basically letting the trail arm go from bent to straight and pushing down and trying to pin the face, basically. Like that will like basically fix everything. You don't have to think of every minuscule thing. You just have to like focus in on a few basic points.
Right.
And that's really the key.
And I've been having a lot of success. We did this drill before that you came up with, and I like it a lot. And it's helped me a lot because I'm working on keeping my trail arm like connected to my body better. Last week I was kind of having this revelation of like, oh, my trail wrist needs to like do more, but my trail arm wasn't really like staying connected to my body. So that was actually like causing some other problems. So Jonathan got me all squared away last weekend. And now my trail arm is like glued to my body, which is working well with my trail wrist and my twist and things like that. But the drill that's been helping me a lot is take my lead hand kind of grip, so club vertical like this, and then basically get the V or my notch matching the club face with the shaft kind of parallel to the target line here. And then I take my trail hand grip, and that automatically forces my trail arm to like pin, like we were saying with Brooks, really pin in front of me. Then from there, I also get the proper extension I need my wrist. Right. Now, from here, when I go back to my setup, I'm already like pre-activated. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah,
it's like once you get there,
it's hard to realize how much cup you actually need in your trail wrist at your setup position. So by feeling this drill right here, it's like, oh, wow, like that's how much I need. And then you go back to setup and you're automatically pushing against the lead thumb knuckle with the proper force that you need. And then you can start your backswing proper, get the proper pre-impact, and then get the proper gear effect from pre to post. But a lot of people, they don't get that trail palm pushing like against that lead thumb knuckle. So then, of course, they're not going to be able to pin the face and get the proper gear effect and get the proper divot because they don't have it really right to begin with. And so that's helped me a ton. Yeah. So I'm really excited. I mean, the sensation I'm feeling is that my trail wrist is like, my palm is like pushing into my like lead thumb knuckle as much as possible, and my fingers are being pulled back to like my trail shoulder.
Right. It's like,
it's such a crazy sensation because like from here, if you go to this drill, you're pushing your trail palm like out away from you like this, but you're trying to feel like your fingers are like curling like around the grip. So they almost feel like they're being like pulled like back this way as I'm pushing this way with my palm. And that's what we talk about with the claws. And then from there, I just kind of feel pushing here, flex back. But boy, it's just, that's my pivot point now. Like now I have the proper pivot point in my swing. I can keep my trail arm connected to my body. And it's really running my golf swing, and it runs Brooks's swing. It runs a lot of good players' swings. And if you don't have that right to begin with, you're in trouble,
Right.
because you will not have the proper pivot point, and you won't be able to get these proper positions we're talking about, and get the proper pre to post impact and stick your finish and take the divot and all that good stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just really excited.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of good content coming up on taking proper divot. Jonathan's going to walk us through, like, I'll be the test dummy, and he'll just tell me, like, hey, this is how you push against the handle, get the proper divot, feel that scrape, and then it just that from there. Once you feel that scrape, you basically can just like flick it from
Well, you just
there,
have
and
to
it'll
keep
like
pushing.
stick
And
it.
it's like, yeah, you're scraping. And then so after, like I said, it's notches down or notches up, depending if you want to keep the ball down or get the ball up.
Right, exactly. Because once you're applying that pressure to the handle,
Right.
just
You got
keep applying.
it's about 6 inches of a divot.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's wrap it up. Let's do some putting, because I want to talk
Okay.
about Brooks a little bit. And I want to talk about, I know we've talked about the trail index finger being like down the club, is like sometimes a bad thing, because if they overuse it, but Brooks pushes so well with his palm that he's able to get away with it, right?
Correct. So just trail hand only, to understand this. So if you have the trail index finger down the shaft like this, you still have your proper notch and pinch here, just like this. So when you think about his pressure, he is pushing with his index pad here all the way to his palm pad against the side of the handle. He's not taking this index finger at all or ever and flicking it forward, which is the most common problem we see with people that extend their
All
finger
the time.
down. Right. So I recommend curling it a little bit. You can extend it down, but if you do this, which again, I mean, obviously it works, but just think about keeping like almost take your index finger, just press it slightly against the side of the putter to begin with. And then when you go back and through, keep it constant. Keep the index pad to the palm pad pressing against, and keep that index finger firm. Don't get wiggly with it or let it get loose or anything like that. Right. So it's like, keep it consistent, because in putting, you don't want any movement with your claws, because then that will alter the handle of the putter. And with putting, any little manipulation to the face, even minuscule degrees, can make a huge influence on the outcome of the putt.
Right, exactly. And like, do that again. So and the good thing that you could do too to kind of work on this is kind of feel at first like your finger isn't even on the club, and just feel what it needs to feel like
this,
with pushing with that palm.
Right.
And then once you have that sensation locked in,
then it's like,
you can apply the pressure like Jonathan's saying. But then you've already felt how the palm,
because it should
and
feel
the
like
index,
this. It should be snug up against like this.
Right, exactly. Up against that nice Super Stroke putter grip.
That's it.
Shout out Super Stroke.
Absolutely.
Podcast sponsor. But yeah, that's the big thing, is we're always just saying the palms in putting. We're not flicking or doing anything like that.
There's no finger action. The fingers are like,
this.
trying to stay out of it as much as possible.
Right. That's why we like the prayer grip and like this drill, because it's just maximum stability. So yeah, that's a big thing. I remember you were saying you'd like to see Brooks with his arms like a little bit more connected, but I mean, he's just does such a good job with that trail wrist.
Yeah, as long as you keep your interconnection with the palms, then the elbows are going to stay connected enough to where you get your pivot points properly.
It's unbelievable. And we talk about this all the time, but like, I mean, all these pros, I mean, maybe they're not doing the perfect thing with the lead hand or something like that, but the trail hand is just flawless. I mean, he's running his golf swing, whether it's driver to putter, with that trail hand to perfection.
Yeah.
And that's why he's playing so good. That's why he won the PGA. Congrats, Brooks. It's cool to see him back playing well again. Golf's just in a good spot right now. I'm really, really excited. We got a lot of exciting content coming up too. We're shooting a video tomorrow on slicing the golf ball and fixing your slice. We're also gonna kind of do some lessons and show some things like that. But yeah, we're about to really start pushing out a lot of content, do some course vlogs. You can see us like on our Instagram and stuff. We're doing a lot of us hitting and getting our swings ready, because we got to get camera ready. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Cool. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for listening. All the links are in the bottom for everything. Go grab a compact club. These are about to be our fourth drop is what it is. Fourth drop is about to be restocked up. I think we have, from the third drop, I think we have 2 left right now. And then fourth drop will kick in and we'll be ready to right back at it. So we might sell out for like a little bit while we kind of get fourth drop kind of circulating. And then once it's circulating, then everybody will be having them in their
And then
claws.
5th drop coming after that.
Exactly. Yeah. Claw IQ coming soon.
Yeah.
A lot of really exciting things coming. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Really appreciate you watching, listening, and we'll see you in the next one.